First contact and escalation. The observation vessel Eternal Vigilance hung motionless at the edge of the Sol system, its passive sensors absorbing every transmission, every orbital movement, every fluctuation in Earth's electromagnetic spectrum. Grand Observer Xylith watched the holographic display with 6 pairs of compound eyes, each set focused on different data streams flowing from the primitive blue-green world. "They are noisy," Xylith remarked, mandibles clicking in mild distaste. "Their broadcasts leak into space without direction or purpose." Senior Analyst Karvik, a slender, translucent being whose neural pathways visibly pulsed beneath thin skin, nodded in agreement. "The galactic hegemony has been monitoring them for 3 of their centuries. They fight constantly amongst themselves, yet advance technologically at an alarming rate." "Contradictory," Xylith muttered. "Inefficient, yet concerning," Karvik added. "Their weapons development curve is unprecedented. They've progressed from primitive explosives to thermonuclear devices in less than 1 of their centuries." The Grand Observer's exoskeleton shifted, plates clicking together in what the crew recognized as discomfort. The hegemony had encountered over 300 spacefaring species in its 12,000-year history. All had been successfully integrated, some willingly, others through carefully calculated pressure. Earth represented a puzzling anomaly. "The High Council grows impatient," Xylith said. "We cannot allow them to develop interstellar capabilities without proper oversight. Prepare the diplomatic contingent." Dr. Eleanor Chen stood on the roof of the United Nations building, watching the alien vessel descend through Earth's atmosphere. The ship was beautiful, a silvery teardrop that seemed to bend light around its hull, creating rainbow patterns that danced across its surface. "How are you feeling, Dr. Chen?" General Marcus Williams asked, his weathered face betraying none of the anxiety that had kept him awake for 3 consecutive nights. "Like someone who's about to make first contact with an alien civilization," Eleanor replied with a wry smile. "So, terrified, exhilarated, and desperately trying not to throw up." Williams nodded. "Just remember, you're not alone up there. We've got your back." Eleanor appreciated the sentiment, though she knew the reality. As Earth's foremost xenolinguist and the architect of the First Contact Protocol, she would be humanity's voice in the coming conversation. And if she failed, if she misinterpreted or offended these visitors from the stars, the ship settled onto the landing pad, making no sound, raising no dust. For several long moments, nothing happened. Then, a seam appeared in its side, widening into an oval doorway from which 3 figures emerged. They were nothing like the gray-skinned humanoids of science fiction. The lead alien stood nearly 3 meters tall, an insectoid being with a segmented exoskeleton of iridescent blue. Behind it came something like a jellyfish floating in air, tendrils of light occasionally pulsing through its transparent form. The third was mechanical, or perhaps cyborg, a metallic framework housing organs and circuitry in transparent fluid. Eleanor stepped forward, bowing slightly, hands open at her sides in the universally passive gesture they had agreed upon. "On behalf of Earth and all humanity, I welcome you to our world. I am Dr. Eleanor Chen." The insectoid creature's mandibles clicked, and a voice emerged, not from the creature itself, but from a small device hovering near its head. "I am Grand Observer Xylith of the Galactic Hegemony. We have come to evaluate Earth for potential integration." Eleanor's practiced smile faltered. "Integration. Your species has advanced to the threshold of interstellar capability," the translator device continued. "As per Galactic Protocol 7.3, developing civilizations must be assessed and guided into the greater community." "I see," Eleanor said carefully. "We appreciate your interest, but Earth is an independent world. Any relationship with your hegemony would need to be negotiated as equals." All 6 pairs of Xylith's compound eyes blinked simultaneously. "There appears to be a translation error. The hegemony does not negotiate integration. We assess, we guide, we integrate. This is for the benefit and stability of all civilizations." General Williams stepped forward. Perhaps we should continue this discussion inside, where we can better understand each other's positions. The following week was a diplomatic nightmare. Representatives from Earth's nations met with the hegemony delegation, trying to explain concepts like sovereignty and self-determination. The aliens listened with what seemed like patience, but continued to speak of integration as an inevitability. On the 8th day, a cultural exchange was proposed. The hegemony would host a delegation of humans aboard their vessel, including a small group of children from the international school. It was meant as a gesture of goodwill, a chance to demonstrate that the aliens posed no threat. No one could have predicted what happened next. 10-year-old Aisha Patel, curious and unafraid, approached one of the jellyfish-like aliens, fascinated by the pulses of light within its transparent body. The alien, a correction named Fludum, apparently interpreted her approach as threatening. What happened next was debated endlessly in the subsequent investigation. Some witnesses claimed Fludum released a defensive toxin. Others believed it was an accidental electrical discharge. The result was the same. Aisha collapsed instantly, her small body convulsing before going terribly still. The medical team aboard the vessel could do nothing. By the time they returned to Earth with her body, rage had already begun to spread across the planet. Despite attempts at diplomacy, despite Xylith's insistence that it was a tragic accident, the damage was done. The Council killed a human child became the headline across every news outlet worldwide. They've rejected our formal apology, Karvik reported, neural pathways flashing with stress indicators. They're demanding our immediate departure from their system. Xylith's exoskeleton creaked as the Grand Observer paced the command center. This is unprecedented. No species has ever rejected integration after first contact. They appear to be mobilizing militarily. The mechanical entity called Interface reported, its fluid housing bubbling slightly. Satellite data shows increased activity at their naval bases and aerospace facilities. Primitive posturing, Xylith dismissed. They have no weapons capable of threatening our vessel, let alone the hegemony. Karvik's translucent form pulsed with concern. I recommend caution, Grand Observer. Our historical analysis suggests humans react unpredictably to perceived threats. They unite in crisis rather than fragment. Your concern is noted but unnecessary, Xylith replied. Prepare a message to the High Council. Earth requires special handling. I recommend a show of force, nothing destructive, merely demonstrative. A small battle group to establish orbital dominance. In an unmarked facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eleanor Chen watched General Williams pace before a wall of monitors showing real-time data from around the world. They're still in orbit, Williams said, and our long-range telescopes have detected 7 more vessels entering the system. They'll be here within days. Eleanor nodded grimly. They never intended to leave. The cultural exchange was reconnaissance. They wanted to gauge our reactions, our capabilities. Well, they're about to gauge something else entirely, Williams said, stopping before a particular monitor. Madam President, are you ready to make the call? The face of President Adama appeared on the central screen, her expression resolute. I've consulted with the Security Council. All member nations are in agreement. Initiate Operation Silent Vanguard. Williams turned to the room of officers and scientists. You heard the President. Send the activation codes. Eleanor felt a chill run down her spine. For 15 years, she had worked on the First Contact Protocol, hoping for peaceful exchange with alien civilizations. Never had she imagined that her linguistic expertise would instead be used to coordinate humanity's first interstellar war. How long have we been preparing for this? She asked quietly. Williams's face was grim. Since the Roswell incident in 1947, we recovered technology. Not much, but enough to jump-start certain research avenues. When we detected the hegemony's observation vessels 30 years ago, the program accelerated. And they have no idea. That's the beauty of Silent Vanguard, Williams replied. While they watched our commercial space programs, our public military, our civilian technologies, they never saw what we hid in the shadows. Grand Observer Xylith was reviewing the integration timetable when alarms suddenly blared throughout the eternal vigilance. Multiple energy signatures detected, interface reported, its metallic framework vibrating with urgency. Origin, Earth's moon. Impossible, Xylith hissed. Their lunar facilities are basic research outposts only. The main view screen activated, showing the dark side of the moon. What had appeared to be natural craters were opening, massive doors sliding apart to reveal cavernous hangars cut deep into the lunar surface. From these underground bases rose ships, dozens, then hundreds of them. They were angular, utilitarian in design, bearing none of the aesthetic considerations of hegemony vessels. But their size and the energy readings they emitted told Xylith everything needed to know. These were warships, human warships, and they had been waiting, hidden, for decades. "The diplomatic vessel is hailing us," Karvik reported, its form nearly transparent with shock. The screen shifted to show Dr. Eleanor Chen, now dressed in what appeared to be a military uniform. "Grand Observer Xylith, this is Admiral Chen of Earth's silent vanguard. The galactic hegemony has committed an act of violence against a human child. You have rejected responsibility, dismissed our sovereignty, and called for reinforcements rather than respecting our wishes for your departure." Xylith's mandibles clicked rapidly in agitation. "This is a misunderstanding. The hegemony seeks peaceful integration. We are not interested in integration," Chen interrupted. "You killed one of our children. Now you will witness why. Throughout our violent history, the one thing humans have always agreed upon is that those who harm our children face consequences." The transmission cut off. Xylith turned to the tactical display, watching in disbelief as the human fleet formed up in perfect military precision. "How?" the Grand Observer whispered. "How did we miss this?" Karvik's neural pathways flashed with rapid calculations. They knew we were watching. Everything we observed was what they wanted us to see. The first volley from the human fleet answered any remaining questions. Beams of concentrated energy, technology the hegemony had believed was centuries beyond human capability, lanced out from the lead vessels, precisely targeting the Eternal Vigilance's propulsion systems. As the ship's engines failed and emergency systems engaged, Xylith realized the terrible truth. The hegemony had catastrophically underestimated humanity, and now they would pay the price for that mistake. Vengeance and resolution. The hegemony battle group emerged from FTL travel at the edge of the Sol system, 7 vessels of increasing size and armament. At their center, the dreadnought Inevitable Dominance dwarfed its escorts, a city-sized vessel housing over 30,000 crew members and enough firepower to reduce Earth's surface to molten slag. Fleet Commander Dravik stood on the command deck, his crystalline body refracting the light of distant stars. As a member of the Tholian race, one of the founding species of the hegemony, he had overseen the integration of 17 civilizations. Some had required demonstrations of force. None had required actual warfare. "Status of the observation vessel," he demanded. His second in command, a cybernetically enhanced Vexery named Zath, consulted the tactical display. "The Eternal Vigilance is disabled but intact. Life support functioning at minimal capacity. We're detecting approximately 300 human vessels in defensive formation around their moon." 300. Dravik's crystalline form vibrated with surprise. Their technological level should not allow for such a fleet. The Grand Observer's last transmission indicated significant deception on the humans' part, Zath replied. They appear to have concealed their true capabilities. Dravik contemplated the tactical display. 300 vessels was impressive for a supposedly pre-FTL civilization, but against a hegemony battle group, they stood no chance. Or so he believed. "Open a channel to their command," he ordered. "Let us see if they can be reasoned with before we demonstrate the consequences of defiance." Admiral Eleanor Chen sat in the command chair of the EFSS Retribution, the flagship of humanity's first fleet. Around her, officers monitored systems that had been decades in development, reverse-engineered from crashed alien craft, theorized by Earth's brightest minds, and built in secret facilities throughout the solar system. Hegemony Battle Group is hailing us, Admiral, her communications officer reported. On screen, Eleanor replied, straightening in her chair. The face that appeared was unlike any alien she had yet encountered, a being seemingly made of living crystal, facets shifting to form approximations of eyes and a mouth. "This is Fleet Commander Dravix of the Galactic Hegemony," the alien stated, its voice resonating oddly through the translator. "You have attacked a diplomatic vessel and violated multiple protocols of civilized behavior. Power down your weapons and prepare for boarding. The integration of Earth will proceed under military supervision." Eleanor's expression remained neutral. "This is Admiral Chen of Earth's silent vanguard. The hegemony violated our sovereignty, caused the death of a human child, and refused to leave our system when requested. We do not recognize your authority, nor will we submit to integration." The crystalline face shifted in what might have been amusement. "Your species' defiance is noted but futile. The hegemony has integrated hundreds of civilizations far more advanced than yours. Your fleet, while impressive for your development stage, cannot hope to stand against us." "Perhaps," Eleanor conceded, "but there's something you should understand about humans, Commander Dravix. We've spent our entire history fighting each other. War is in our blood, and in preparing to fight ourselves, we've become very, very good at it." She nodded to her tactical officer. "Demonstrate." Dravix watched in disbelief as a single human vessel broke formation, accelerating toward the hegemony fleet. His tactical systems identified it as small, a destroyer class at most, and he almost laughed at the futility of the gesture. "A single ship," he said. "Is this their champion?" Zath's cybernetic eye whirred as it focused on the approaching vessel. "Unusual energy signature, Commander. It doesn't match their other ships." Before Dravix could respond, the human destroyer simply vanished. "Where did it?" he began, but alarms cut him off as the ship reappeared instantaneously, now behind their formation, directly adjacent to their smallest escort vessel. "Impossible," Dravix whispered. "They can't have short-range teleportation technology." The human ship fired, not energy weapons, but physical projectiles that accelerated to relativistic speeds in microseconds. The hegemony escort's shields, designed to disperse energy attacks, provided almost no resistance. The projectiles tore through the vessel's hull, striking critical systems with surgical precision. As the escort vessel drifted, crippled but not destroyed, the human ship vanished again, reappearing seconds later beside another hegemony vessel. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Dravix ordered. "Activate full combat protocols." But the human fleet was already in motion. Dozens of vessels blinked out of existence, reappearing throughout the hegemony formation, targeting engines, weapon systems, and communication arrays with devastating accuracy. They weren't trying to destroy the hegemony ships. They were methodically disabling them. "How are they predicting our shield modulations?" Zath demanded, his organic eye wide with shock. "Each attack is precisely calibrated to our weakest points." Dravix had no answer. The hegemony had encountered teleportation technology before, but never weaponized with such efficiency, never combined with this level of tactical precision. It was as if the humans had been studying hegemony defensive systems for decades, which he realized with growing horror they'd probably had. On the bridge of the Retribution, Eleanor watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Phase 1 of Operation Silent Vanguard was proceeding exactly as planned. All targets neutralized except for the Dreadnought, her tactical officer reported. Drive systems disabled on 6 of 7 vessels. Weapons systems at 30% or less. No casualties reported on either side. "Good," Eleanor said. Prepare Phase 2. General Williams, standing at her side as military liaison, raised an eyebrow. You still think they'll respond to diplomacy after this? They'll respond to strength, Eleanor replied, and to the realization that we could have destroyed their entire battle group, but chose not to. She turned to her communications officer. Open a channel to the dreadnought. Dravix's crystalline face appeared once more, now vibrating with what humans would interpret as rage. This outrage will not stand. The full might of the hegemony will descend upon your world for this attack. Commander Dravix, Eleanor said calmly, we have disabled your escorts without destroying them or killing their crews. This demonstration was restrained. Intentionally so. Restrained. Dravix almost seemed to sputter. You've committed an act of war against the galactic hegemony. No, Eleanor countered. We've defended ourselves against an unwanted incursion, but I'm contacting you now to offer terms. The hegemony does not accept terms from primitives, from lesser species. Eleanor interrupted. I think you'll find we're neither. Our teleportation technology alone proves that, and it's just one of many advancements we've kept hidden, while your observation vessels studied our public infrastructure. She leaned forward. Here are our terms. The hegemony will recognize Earth's sovereignty and that of the entire Sol system. You will withdraw all vessels and pledge non-interference. In return, we will release your disabled ships and crews unharmed. Dravix's crystalline structure darkened, and if we refuse? In answer, Eleanor nodded to someone off-screen. A moment later, dozens of new contacts appeared on Dravix's tactical display, emerging from the asteroid belt, from the moons of Jupiter and Saturn, even from the Kuiper belt beyond Neptune. Hundreds more vessels, some dwarfing even the inevitable dominance. That, Eleanor said simply, is our reserve fleet, and every vessel carries the same teleportation technology you've already witnessed, along with several other advancements we prefer not to demonstrate. The next 12 hours were the most humiliating of Fleet Commander Dravix's long career. Forced to accept the humans' terms, he watched helplessly as hegemony crews were transferred to his dreadnought, while human engineering teams systematically disabled certain technologies aboard the abandoned vessels, nothing that would prevent their safe return to hegemony space, but enough to protect Earth's tactical advantages. This is unprecedented, Zath murmured as they prepared for departure. No species has ever forced the hegemony to retreat. This goes beyond us, Dravix replied grimly. A High Council must be informed of the humans' true capabilities. As the inevitable dominance limped away from the Sol system, its escorts in Tau, Dravix received one final transmission from Admiral Shen. Commander Dravix, a parting message, she said. Earth has no desire for conflict with the galactic hegemony or any other civilization. We wish only to determine our own destiny. Remember what you witnessed here today, should the hegemony consider future action against us. Dravix said nothing, terminating the transmission with a gesture, but as the stars streaked past during their slower-than-normal return journey, he contemplated what he had learned about humans. They had hidden their true technological development. They had studied the hegemony without revealing themselves. They had struck with precision when threatened, showing both overwhelming force and surprising restraint. Most concerning of all, they had demonstrated unity in the face of external threat, a psychological trait the hegemony had rarely encountered and never successfully manipulated. 6 months later, Eleanor stood before the United Nations Security Council, now expanded to include representatives from every nation on Earth. The chamber had been rebuilt after the events now simply called First Contact, with advanced security systems and communication technology integrated seamlessly into the classical architecture. The hegemony has formally recognized Earth's sovereignty, she reported. Our monitoring stations at the edge of the system confirm their withdrawal from our space. President Adama nodded. And what of the other species under hegemony control? Have we had any contact? Yes, Madam President, Eleanor replied. Since our encounter, 17 civilizations have reached out through covered channels. They're watching us closely. Some see us as potential liberators. Others fear we may become a new hegemony ourselves. And the child? Asked the representative from India, his voice solemn. Has justice been served for Aisha Patel? A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Eleanor took a deep breath before answering. Aisha's death was the catalyst that revealed the hegemony's true nature. In her memory, we've established the Patel Protocol, guidelines for future interactions with alien civilizations based on mutual respect and recognition of sovereignty. She paused, looking around the chamber at the faces of humanity's leaders. But the best way to honor her is to build something better than the hegemony. Not an empire of subjugation, but a community of equals. Several species have already expressed interest in such an alliance. And the silent vanguard. General Williams asked from his seat near the back of the chamber. What of our fleet? We maintain vigilance, Eleanor said firmly. We continue to advance, but we do so openly now, not from fear, but from strength. Humanity has announced its presence to the galaxy. We cannot return to the shadows. As the council session adjourned, Eleanor walked to the great windows overlooking the New York skyline. In the distance, she could see construction on the first civilian starport, where ships would soon depart for the nearest habitable worlds. Exploration vessels were already mapping potential colony sites throughout the solar system. Her communicator chimed softly. A message from deep space, one of their reconnaissance vessels near the border of hegemony territory. More ships requesting asylum. The message read, 3 civilizations seeking alliance against hegemony oppression, requesting diplomatic protocols. Eleanor smiled slightly. The universe was larger and more complex than humanity had imagined, filled with both wonders and dangers. But for the first time, she felt certain that humans would find their place among the stars, not as subjects or conquerors, but as architects of a new kind of interstellar community. One where no child, of any species, would ever be sacrificed to maintain the status quo again.